Welcome to Novel Ideas, Chats with Local Authors. I'm Carolyn Luck, and this is my co-host, Josh Brogadir.
Great to be with you, Carol. And with us tonight is Erica Ferencik. She's an author, graduate of the MFA program in creative writing at Boston University, author of 4 books. And we're really glad that you're here with us tonight.
I'm so excited to be here. So great. I love attention.
Terrific. Well, we're going to give you some attention. Tell us a little bit about your background, because I know there's a lot of different things you've done.
Yes.
You've done a lot of writing, as we talked about, but also a realtor and
yeah, well, I was a realtor.
Stand-up comic?
Yeah, I was a realtor and a stand, not at the same time.
Okay.
Different time periods of my life. So I think that, I think every artist has to figure out a way to do their art as well as support themselves. And I've gone, I think one reason I chose real estate was I wanted to choose something as far as possible from writing so that I could just go in another world and do that job. And then so I would really be kind of fresh for the writing. And it weirdly worked out kind of well because I'd done a lot of 9-to-5 jobs in the corporate setting where I would just be totally, enervated at the end of the day, especially if I tried to have a life as well. So that's one reason I chose real estate.
Well, it also provided you lots of humor and fun for your first book, which is called Cracks in the Foundation. And it's the story of Ginger Canadu. And would you tell us a little bit about her?
Well, in the course of my doing real estate, there were just all sorts of characters, as you can imagine. And there seemed to be this recurrent sort of character who, they seem to just do anything for a sale. And so I wanted to take that sort of personality, that sort of aggressive personality, and take it totally over the top. And set it, so she's like the I Love Lucy of realtors. Mm-hmm. She's completely hapless. She'll do anything. And she does anything to make a sale. And she works with the oldest realtor in the business, and she has a wacky daughter. So yeah, so that was a blast to write. It's so much fun.
It's a blast to read,
well,
too.
Thank you.
Nice. To what extent is writing a reflection of real life? I mean, some of the things that you write about, and I know that this is a common topic with authors. Some of you in that book specifically?
Well, yeah. I mean, there is that sensibility that every character an author comes up with is a little bit of themselves, and so she's not me, but she's me over the top. I mean, she's me desperate. I mean, in my new book, we're going to get to it. The characters there's a little bit of me, and we can talk about it when we get to that part. Sure. And all those characters. There's the writing. I mean, where does writing come from? It has to come from life. That's why it's so important to live your life, and otherwise, what are you going to write about? I mean, I'm not Proust. I'm not going to write about a Madeline. I'm not going to write about a cookie. It's not going to happen. I need stuff. So yeah, but it was fun. It was fun writing that.
So where do ideas come from? I mean, your second book, The Repeaters, is
well, this book, Repeaters. I love scary stuff. I love psychological thrillers. I love supernatural fiction, movies. Madly in love with that stuff. So I wanted to try my hand at that. The character in here, the evil mother, is unfortunately a lot like my mother. Now, my mother wasn't a murderer, and so on, but metaphorically she was. So I wanted to take that energy and put that in the book. So that was a hard one to write, because I had to sort of re-traumatize myself in order to write it. But in the course of doing that, I think I was able to write a powerful book. And we can talk more about the writing process, but I believe that to write, you literally have to put yourself in the situation mentally, to go through it. Use all your 5 senses to reconjure or conjure, and then if you're rewriting, reconjure a scene. You can't just say, okay, that word doesn't work, or gee, I don't like the name, Joe, or whatever. It's not, you need to really enter the world. So how did I get on that? I don't know.
Well,
Well,
go ahead, Carol.
well, so your writing process is really sort of putting your mind in this place
Yes.
to write with. Do you have a particular spot where you write, or?
Well, I've got, I rented a little room in Fountain Street Studios, near Fountain Street. Yeah, I've got a place there. I love certain libraries. I have my favorites. I like to, I'm a bit of a princess in the pea with my writing place, though. It needs to be super quiet, which is, quiet is a really hard thing to find these days. I mean, libraries I've turned into sort of social gathering places. Nothing wrong with that, but you do lose true quiet places.
Right.
Yeah, and I have my whole writing process. It takes me, it's about a 4-hour project. The first hour is spent just calming down,
Okay.
just like getting into that space. Second hour of this new book I'm writing, which I'll talk about, is research. And the other 2 hours are actually trying to get words on the page.
Okay.
So.
You mentioned quiet, no music at all.
Oh, God, no.
No, like even background or light classical or just kind of
I've
quiet.
I tried that.
Didn't work.
No, I didn't work. Sometimes it's really great, though, to get in the mood. And sometimes if I know if there's a book that's similar to what I'm trying to write, that has been an inspiration for the book I'm writing. For example, Deliverance was an inspiration for this book.
Yeah.
I might read a chapter of that and then be okay. And I have my mind, I'm thinking in that sort of tempo and word choice and rhythm. So, and then if there is some music, I would listen to that. Never words, though.
Right. Distracting.
Because but writing is music.
Right.
You're not conscious of hearing it as you're reading, but you're hearing it. And that's why when it's bad, it's like, oh, what? This is painful, or something's off. You're listening to it. So.
Now, what do you do if you get sort of derailed and you kind of find yourself stuck at the end of something, and all of a sudden you don't know where to go from there?
Oh, I do laundry and I scream. Well, a really good technique is to never, and you're a writer too, so you know this. It's like, for what I do is, as often as possible, if I can possibly do it, I never stop at the end of something good. I always go to the end and I go a little more so that the next day I go and it's not cold and there's no jumping off point and there's no I don't have a foot in it, you know what I mean? And I'm like a big loser, so that's one way of doing it. Sometimes if I'm really stuck, I'll go back to the outline. I figure, what did I not do? Did I not really think a character through? Did I not think about, what's this character's motivation? There's no conflict in a scene? How can there be a scene? How is this moving? How is this scene different at the end than it was at the beginning? It has to have that, or it has no reason to be there. It can't just be pretty dialogue, or, it has to have a reason for being there. Because your reader is 20 times smarter than you are. They're thinking way ahead. They're guessing. When you watch a movie, you are going 1,000 miles an hour.
Right.
Because you're getting a ton more information, too. You're getting all this visual information.
Yeah.
And so your brain is going so much faster. So you need to outsmart your reader, which is really hard with smart readers.
When you're writing, though, do you think of the reader during that process? I mean, are you writing the story as it comes to you and the characters and you develop them? Do you think, this reader's going to make this connection, or do you just kind of go through?
Well, I think that's a great question. I think that I think of myself as I write. I'm creating entertainment. Okay. You know what I mean? So I create entertainment as I would want to be entertained, Sure. And I look at this as great and fun and everything, but it's a product. It's like someone, $26 January 10th, that's a lot of, cash. Right. And so if the reader, the potential buyer, has to see value in it, and it's got to be entertained. Well, I don't know why you read. So also information, of course, but a novel is generally for entertainment, but I don't think of a specific person. Maybe I should.
Well, I don't know. I mean, there's so many different people who are obviously going to read it.
Yeah,
so I wondered
yeah.
if that pigeonholes you.
I'm very
at all.
conscious that I can't please everyone.
Right, sure.
Because you just can't. You cannot. You know, you want to. It's human nature. But the minute you try to do that, you just please no one. So.
Yeah. Yeah.
So.
Very good. You mentioned an outline. Do you outline from the very beginning? Are they detailed?
I do outline. I outline because there are books that I've gotten halfway through that many years ago. I've been writing for 30 years. I have tons of half books in the drawer. Why? Because I didn't outline and think it through. I mean, it's like building a house. It's complicated, you know.
Yeah.
How can you build a house without some kind of game plan? And you have to keep this whole thing in your head. You know, even if you have an outline, you still need to keep it in your head. So you're doing yourself a disservice not to have an outline. I mean, this is me. I mean, there are probably writers out there, I just write books, it's great, you know. How do they do that?
I don't think too many.
A few of them that I've spoken with do, and I don't know how. But the interesting thing is, my third book, I did all these incredible outlines down to the most minuscule little detail, and I got halfway into it, and all of a sudden this character just took off, and
that's happened to me. Absolutely.
He was just telling me, I'm not going there.
Right. But that's okay, though.
And that was fine.
Because you can look back at your outline and say, all right, so how am I going to adjust it? And,
yeah.
You know, right? So, yeah, there's a way.
Well, we've been talking a lot about process. When we come back, we're going to talk about your newest book, The River at Night, which Carol and I were lucky enough to get advance copies of. Everyone else can get it on January 10th, but we're going to talk all about it when we come back.
Yeah.
Thanks for staying with us. And welcome back to Novel Ideas. We're here tonight with Erica Ferencik, Framingham author, and talking about her new book, The River at Night. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
So let's jump right into the water here.
Sure.
Tell us a bit about this book, which, I mean, captivating, riveting, exciting, powerful. Those are some of the things I would describe about it. Give us a bit of a synopsis about what this book's about, River at Night.
So this is about 4 women friends. They've been friends for 15 years, going on a whitewater rafting trip in northern Maine, and they have a getaway every year, and but this one happens to be that, and they have a terrible accident and lose the raft and everything they need to survive. And so they have to survive not only the woods, but some people they come upon in the woods who have their own agenda. So that's what it's about. Yes.
Well, when I first started reading this book, I felt like I was initially reminded of this wilderness kind of thing, which isn't really my shtick.
Okay.
But I read Wild by Cheryl Strayed.
Of course,
and she goes up this Pacific trail, and she's all by herself, and you're scared to death she's going to slip off a cliff or something like
Wrong
that
size
and never be
shoes.
seen again, and all this. And yet when I got a little bit into the book, all of a sudden I'm swept away. I'm in this water. It's like so much more exciting. And with these 4 friends, the characters add this whole huge dimension.
Thank you. Yeah.
And I just kind of love the characters because they're so real. How do you get these people to be there? Yes.
Oh, well, you know, it's like rewrite. You know, in fact, with the first iteration of it, they were way too much the same, and my editor said, "Come on, you know, let's get these little." Except for Pia. Pia's sort of the alpha female who's the one who's like, "We're doing this. I don't care." But you know, you just study people. You know, you're a writer too. You study people and figure out what their motivations are. Figure out what their sadnesses are. Their inner conflicts, unresolved stuff, and especially with their friends, you know? Yeah. I mean, we gloss over a lot of stuff when our lives aren't being threatened, you know, but if you're put in a really stressful situation, you learn a lot about your friend, and a lot of stuff comes out. So that's what I wanted to do with that. Yeah.
You know, these characters also have a lot of their own baggage too that
That's
they
right.
bring, and it's like all of a sudden you go, "Oh no!"
Yeah. I mean, I wanted it to be realistic, though. I didn't want,
They're very
everyone's
believable.
lives to be perfect and
Right.
that sort of thing. So, yeah.
And their stories intertwine because they have a friendship that's been going on for a long time. But
Yeah.
these aren't ladies who are with each other all the time. These aren't just four pals who, are in
They're
the same
professional
area.
ladies that make the effort to
get together
get together
once a
over
year.
distance. And there are just so many women who do that. I mean, I have a group of friends I've done it with for 20, 25 years. Not as much, because life really does get in the way. It's really hard. We're mothers now, grandmothers now, moved across the country sometimes, and across the ocean. So it's hard. It's hard to do that.
I wanna
But
ask-
these friendships
yeah.
are just so can be so laden. They can be so. They're just so full of complexity, and they're so weighted. And I just think that female friendship is just rife with possibilities for exploring these kinds of complexities. Because why is it that we can tell our hairdresser anything if it's a woman, or just tell our girlfriends stuff we sometimes don't even tell our husbands?
Right.
I still don't know the answer to that question. But it does engender just a lot of closeness and intimacy between people. So
You mentioned Northern Maine. I'm
Yes.
very interested in the location
Yes.
and your research specifically.
Yes,
and how you got up. You were in those woods.
I was in those woods.
And you-
well,
you're
it's
back.
funny when I'm back, I'm alive.
You're alive
I'm
to
alive
tell the
to
story.
Tell the story.
Harrowing though, right? At
It
least
was
in some ways.
harrowing. I mean,
Yeah.
I was like, first I was like, I'm writing this book, and I can just Google it. And I'm like, you loser, get in your car,
Yep.
make the trip. So I spent 9 days in northern Maine. I went all the way till the road ends past this place is actually called Dickey.
Aroostook County?
Aroostook County. Have you been up that far?
Not that far. Baxter State
Oh
Park, and
my
probably
God,
that's about as far
that's-
north I think I've been.
That's nothing.
I know.
That's Florida. That's like
Pretty much.
Miami. Ay. But and I wanted to interview people who lived off the grid. So I didn't know anybody. So I called all the chambers of commerce right up through Millinocket and Caribou and all the way up there. And they said, well, these people don't want to be contacted. That's why they live off the grid, but then they said, well, maybe I know someone who knows someone. And so I was able to set up like 8 different interviews with all these people, and I ended up staying with a lot of them in various home-like situations, a yurt, a rehabbed bus, lots of strange cabins. One guy took me on a horse into the woods. That's the only way he would do it. His own horse. We rode for an hour. He made me sign a piece of paper saying I wouldn't say where he lived or his name or anything like that. And it was like old-fashioned carbon piece of paper. So weird. And then I get back on his horse and he takes me back to my car. So it was sort of, I had my mace, I had my power bars, I was fine, but it was cold. It was cold. A lot of these people, have heat, sort
Right.
of, not really.
Makeshift generator.
Yeah,
kinda
makeshifty
heat.
stuff.
Yeah.
But I had all these ideas of why they did it, and they were just not correct. I mean, they all had different reasons for doing what they did, and so anyway.
The reader feels like you actually lived this.
Oh, yeah.
You did.
I did. Well, I drove up talking into my tape recorder the whole way, all my impressions of what I saw and experienced. I had a blast. It was great. It was great.
Its own adventure.
Yeah, it was an adventure, and I lived.
Oh.
So.
Yeah, and the other thing in the book is you have such vivid descriptions of things. I mean, at one point, I was literally clutching the arm of the chair as I was reading.
Yeah.
And of course, I can't swim, so it's probably twice as
That's
bad
terrible.
for me.
Also, that's
Oh, wow.
really bad if you can't swim. Oh, yeah. Promise me
was
you'll never go
really
whitewater
frightening.
rafting.
Right. So whitewater rafting, this does not give it exactly the prettiest
No,
picture in terms of they're on
no.
the water and things
No.
don't go quite so well.
Well, yeah, so so you're asking about whitewater
Yeah,
rafting?
I want to ask about if this is something you would recommend for people. People go rafting in Maine all the time, certainly summer trips and other parts of New England.
And I don't want to trash that at all. And
Right.
it's great if you, I mean, I've gone like 4 times, 5 times.
Okay.
And I never want to go again because one of the things that happened in the book, it had kind of one of my guides actually flipped the raft without telling us he was going to do it to teach us that anything could happen.
Right.
And this was like back in the 80s where there was just no regulation or anything like that. And I think personally, I just don't need to, I'm not, I don't want to do physical danger anymore. I like to watch a scary movie. I like to read a scary book, but I'm not into the actual physical danger. I think it's a great thing to do. You know, it's going to be very regulated. You really do. You wear the proper clothes. You vet the agency. You know, you'll be fine. It's a personal decision, but I don't want to do it anymore.
So the kind of trip that these ladies end up going on, where they're up, you know, with Rory, the character, obviously, this young man, and he's leading them on a river that has really. Most
He's
people
a
haven't-
macho kid, and he just is like, you know, we're gonna beat Mother Nature here with our equipment, and I'm the dude, and you're my first ones down this river, and I made up the river because I was looking for a river that would fit. But it's interesting, no one has called me on that. That river does not exist in Maine. But I wanted it to be, you know, there's no undiscovered river, there's no unexploited river in Maine, let's put it that way.
Sure.
So, it's not an experience I would want to do again.
Okay.
People love it, and I'm not trashing it, but
That depends. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
So
it's just, to me, it was just so riveting because I kept reading and reading. I kept saying, oh, just to the end of this chapter. And I was like, at the end of the chapter, oh no, I can't put it down.
Yeah.
And my husband
well, I
goes,
did
"When
my
are you
job
coming to
then,
bed?"
right? I did my job.
Right. So where do we go from here? What's your next project? Obviously, this is.
Oh, so
I know you have to look that way as an author, of course, as a lot
yeah.
of things. Is
Well,
you just-
I sold my next book to Simon & Schuster,
Congrats.
and thank you, and it's a love story that takes place in the Peruvian Amazon. So I'm going down there,
Wow.
Terrific.
kind of. I'm
Doing a little
scared.
piranhas and
I'm
such?
doing a little piranha thing.
Yeah.
I'm going to go right into the Madre de Dios region.
Nice.
And just, you know, learn what I can learn. Kind of very much like my main character who's going to be a novice going into the jungle. But she falls in love with a Peruvian man, moves into the jungle with him, has to survive the ex-wives in the village that he didn't tell her about, as well as a tropical disease that she can't get help for in time. So
Whoa.
I got you scared already.
We're on the edge of our seat.
Yes.
Unfortunately, that's
She
all
hasn't
the
even
that's all the
started.
time we have for tonight.
Oh, okay, no.
We'll leave
that's
you on
great.
that.
That's okay.
Thank you so much, Erica.
Thank you so
Ferencik,
much
for being here
Thank
with us
you. It's
tonight.
great to talk to you.
And all your books are on Erica Ferencik.
EricaFerencik.com.
Ferencik,
Hey,
not forensic
Not like
the
dead people. Sounds
people.
like it.
Yes.
Spelled different. And please go on for events. Go on for events because Barnes & Noble, January 20th, 7 o'clock. January 13th, Coolidge Corner, 7 o'clock.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So.
Great.
And I'd also like to thank Access Framingham, all the wonderful people here, Scott, Francesca, Shavars, Jared, and all the rest of you guys do such a great job and allow us to celebrate our local authors like Erica. It's great. And I also like to thank my co-host. We have a ball doing
Glad
this.
to be here.
And that's awesome.
All right.
And thank you to our viewers. Hope to see you next time for another episode of Novel Ideas.
Good night.